Hello, everyone. Brittany?
Hi.
This is such an awkward start.
Welcome to the Truth Booth.
Welcome to the Truth Booth podcast, where unfiltered truth meets culture's chaos.
I'm Brittany.
I'm Aaliyah.
And we're here to bring it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is our first introductory episode. And we're just going to introduce ourselves. You'll get to know us. Yeah. We won't get to know you because obviously we don't know who you are. And you're listening to us. So hold on tight. Put on your seatbelts. And it's going to be great. Brittany, would you like to get us started?
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Are you nervous?
Well. No. Because it
now
just feels like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It'll be fun.
Yeah. And it's fine. And you know what? I looked at my Oura Ring stats today and it said I'm really ready for the day.
I did not look at mine.
My sleep score. Do you want to know what my sleep score was?
I'm going to be jealous. What?
98.
What?
I've never had a sleep score that high. If you don't know what an Oura Ring is, it's just like, it's this ring that tracks everything about your life.
We have matching Oura Rings.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy. But it's also very helpful. And I slept like a baby last night. 9 hours of sleep.
Wow.
Can you tell I don't have kids?
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know that I've ever had that score ever since I've had an Oura Ring, which is 4 or 5 years.
5 years?
Something like that. It's like the first generation one. That's why it's so big and bulky. But
it's still cute though.
It keeps track your sleep. It tells you when you're ready for activity. All of those things. And mine always pretty much says, actually, that's not true. I have some okay.
Yeah.
But overall readiness is good.
The biggest slap in the face is when it gives you the notification. Is it time to stretch your legs? No, actually, it's not. Not time to stretch my legs. Don't tell me what to do.
Are you being lazy?
Yes, absolutely. But we figured we would take this episode and you can get to know a little bit about us. And kind of like we were already saying, Brittany, would you like to introduce yourself? What's your life like?
Sure.
We know you have kids. How many kids do you have? You have a husband.
Yeah, so I'm Brittany LaBeouf, which I have 3 kids. They're 5, 2.5, and almost 1. So all pretty young kids.
Yes.
I'm married to my husband, Alex.
Hey, Alex, if you're watching.
And Aaliyah just learned today what I do for work full time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a scientist full time. So my background, I have a PhD in exercise science.
She's very smart.
So I'm a scientist for a corporate fitness company. That's like my daytime job. And I, what's it called? Moonlight. I'm when you have a job at like all hours of the day, podcasting.
Yes.
Podcasting and spray tanning are my other things that I do.
Which is really ironic because I am the palest person in the world. And I feel like even if I had a spray tan, people would just look at me like, what did you do to yourself?
The next time we come to film a podcast, I'll bring my spray tan equipment.
I don't think I could do it. I think it would be just too much.
Do you tan in the sun?
No, I burn. But then it turns to tan for 2 seconds and then I'm white again. So.
Okay. You have options. I tanned Chevelle. Anyways.
Wow. Shout out Chevelle.
So that's what I do on the side. I'm part of this church, but I go to our Center County campus.
Yes.
So I made the trek to the metropolis of Akron.
About 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah. So excited for this. I have had a podcast in the past, actually.
Yeah. Heaven and Health.
Yes. And, I love the platform of podcasting.
Yeah.
But I really don't, it's not my favorite to do it solo.
Yeah. I understand that because you're just talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Do you talk to yourself?
Besides
podcasting?
Kind of. I'm home alone all day.
Okay.
So I like podcasting in every medium. I like doing podcasts. I like listening to podcasts. But yeah, I'm excited for this because it's, that sort of dynamic between us. I'm a little bit older than Aaliyah, not a ton.
Should we expose our ages?
Yeah, I'm 34.
I'm 26. I often forget how old I am.
Yeah. So I am a younger millennial.
Yes.
That is my generation.
I'm an older Gen Z, and you know what? I will cling to Gen Z all day long.
She does. She's good at it, though. I don't. I don't. But I try.
It's all good.
I keep up with stuff, which we're going to address in this podcast a lot.
For sure.
So it'll be great.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
What about you?
My name is Aaliyah Hamilton. I'm on staff here at Freedom Life Church. Been on staff here for 5 years. I did not make a 2.5 hour trek. I made a 15-minute trek from my house, my apartment. And yeah, on staff here, I'm an assistant youth pastor. And then also I am the events coordinator as of recent. And so just took that on and my life is filled with church, friends, traveling,
Podcast.
and podcasts, listening to podcasts, apparently now being on a podcast. And yeah, that's the life.
All right.
Pretty simple.
Should we talk about our testimonies?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we have very different testimonies
Very
in
much
a lot
so.
of ways.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. So for me, I grew up in church, and the senior pastor of this church, Pastor Sam, for those of you who know, some people might not. So I don't know who's listening to this. He's a senior pastor of Freedom Life. Sam is my uncle. And so when I was young, like 10, 11, 12, he was a youth pastor here.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so he first came on staff at Freedom Life when it wasn't Freedom Life.
Wow.
And it was a youth pastor. And so I got saved at a camp that was here. Not this building anymore, the old building. So that was like the first time I remember sort of like committing my life to Jesus. I was like 12. So went back home, you know, I was in church, but not, I feel like I didn't have the best friends.
Yeah.
We went to church, but I didn't really fully understand what it meant to have a relationship with Jesus, which I think is, you know, as a kid, probably common. But then what happened was, as I sort of got into high school and became interested in boys and got distracted, all the things, I just sort of stopped going to church really consistently.
Yeah.
I didn't ask questions about what it meant to be a follower of Jesus. It's like I didn't even know what to ask.
Yeah.
Almost. And so what happened then, though, was when I went to college and was sort of exposed to this whole new world of, you know, new people, new ideas, you know, the party scene, all of that. Like, I was a really good student academically, but socially, socially, I wanted to fit in. I wanted to do all the things all the college students were doing. And like, I kind of knew it was wrong. It's not like I was like telling my parents I was doing these things.
For sure, yeah.
But what happened was, like, little by little, I just sort of drifted and started doing things that were just opening me up to all sorts of deception and whatnot. And so as I kind of continued throughout my academic career, it became more and more tumultuous as far as the environment that against Christianity. And that really came to a head when I was in my PhD program.
Yeah.
Because I was in New England, in Western Massachusetts, which is an extremely liberal area. And I was there. I started there in 2014.
Okay.
So this was on the cusp of the President Trump election.
Yeah.
And I had voted previously in 2 elections. But the first year I voted was 2008, which was
really,
which I voted for Obama. And that was my freshman year of college, right?
Wow.
And I literally took a quiz online that said, like, you answered some questions, and it was like, who should you vote for?
Oh, no. It was like a BuzzFeed quiz.
Yes.
No, it was like, do you like red or do you like blue? And you picked blue. And you're like, okay, you should vote for Obama.
Literally. Me and my college roommate were like, okay, let's see.
Oh, my goodness.
And so that was what informed my decision. I knew nothing about politics. Honestly. Like, nothing. But so I was like, I guess I'm a Democrat. I don't even know if I was registered. I don't even know. I don't remember. But when I transitioned to, you know, Western Mass, and it was coming on the heels of the 2016 election, and just being in that area in general was very liberal. Yeah. And so I was exposed to this sort of hatred of Christians.
Yeah.
And very accepting to other, like, world religions and everything. All of the above. And there was like the Catholic church on campus, but it was very cultural. It was like, you can say that, but as long as you believe these other things, we don't really care what you believe religiously. And I'd never been exposed to that. And because a lot of the people there, it was just a very educated area. And so there was this sort of attitude that the more educated you were, the harsher they were if you believed anything spiritual. Like, you could say, oh, I'm spiritual, or usually really vague terms.
And you would get a pass.
Yeah. But if you were a Christian and kind of practiced any sort of conservative Christian, if you had stances like that, if you acted like that, you were kind of like, people knew.
Yeah.
I think there was maybe 1 or 2 people in my program, in my specific program, who were, and like they were mocked, they were teased.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think I don't remember personally ever doing that, but I was definitely around it and never said anything. And so I was exposed to a lot of that. And then when President Trump got elected, the whole town shut down.
They were in mourning.
They were in mourning. People
That
were
is
crying in the streets. Classes were canceled. Hmm.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, I didn't vote in 2016 because I had like this absentee ballot situation.
Okay.
And I didn't send something in, and so I couldn't vote, whatever.
Hmm.
And I almost was like scared to tell anyone because
Really?
yes, because everyone was like, you can't let this happen.
Yeah.
The people who don't vote this is whatever. And I kind of just forgot about it.
Mhm.
It was just like an irresponsible thing. It
Yeah.
wasn't intentional by any means, but the whole town was in mourning, and that sort of. I've been exposed to some of it up to that point, but I do feel that was like sort of a breaking point for
Yeah.
culture in
Mhm.
general and how to think about politics
Yeah.
and cultural issues from a
Yes.
Christian worldview.
Mhm.
And so I completely swung the other direction though. And I was extremely to the left. I was
Yeah.
on the liberal side of every issue, but it wasn't because I was a Christian.
Yeah.
At that point, I had sort of decided that I couldn't identify with that because those
Yeah.
people were mean and hateful,
Mhm.
and everyone around me was not a Christian.
Yeah.
And so I had not a lot of people speaking that into me. And if they did, it was sort of like lukewarm,
Yeah.
which was the opposite of what I actually needed.
Absolutely.
And so that sort of went on. I got more and more progressive, I leaned into that even more because it was all I was being exposed to. And met my husband. We got pregnant with our son. And at that time, I was sort of wrapping up my stint in academia. I had taken a teaching job, and as I graduated, I did a postdoc, all of that. Again, I was in the sociology department, which, if you know anything about sociologists in academia,
oh boy.
let's just say I remember one time we had a meeting that was hours long about how to ask a sixth grader what their gender was.
Hours?
Mm-hmm.
That's awful.
Yeah. And this was before, like, it was, I feel like, really mainstream to ask about pronouns.
Wow.
So they are ahead of the curve in that
For
sense.
sure.
So it was
The wrong curve.
Yeah.
The wrong curve.
Yeah. Not in a good way. So anyways, that was my experience. And then I took a new job that was fully remote, which allowed us to move back to central Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So we wanted to move closer to my parents.
Mhm.
We knew we wanted more kids.
Yeah.
We wanted to be closer to family. And so I came to Michaela's bridal shower. My cousin.
I was there.
Were you?
I have a crazy story about that bridal shower.
Oh, really?
Because
Unrelated?
no, I slightly remember you being there,
Yeah.
but I was concussed. I had a concussion at that bridal shower. Not like a really bad one, but like enough. But like I didn't know it was concussion at that point.
Oh. I'm not going to ask any more questions about that.
It was a situation. Anyways, but I remember like literally like falling into tables like at one point. Like I couldn't stand up very well. Maybe it was a bad concussion. We don't know for sure.
Oh, man.
But I remember seeing you at this bridal shower and I was like, who is this girl?
Yeah.
Like, what is she doing? Why is she wandering around the building?
Yeah.
But you can kind of get into that.
Yeah. So I came to this bridal shower and I had brought my son. It was a last minute thing. My mom was like, hey, I'm going to we had just moved, like maybe the week before. And my mom was like, do you want to come to this with us? Whatever. And I was like, sure. I hadn't seen Michaela in years.
Yeah.
Or anyone really, because I was living in Massachusetts. So I never saw like our family from over here. So I went and, I had my son with me. He was fussy. And so I was just kind of wandering around the church, like trying to like get away from the people so they weren't. And so I walked into what used to be the main sanctuary.
Yeah.
Which was where that service was that I got saved back when I was 12.
Those beautiful red chairs with stains all over
them. The carpet was also red, like that maroon.
Yeah, it was a real blessing.
Yeah. Lots of sweat, I'm sure, from teens in there over the years. Yeah.
Yep.
So I went in there to just see how it looked.
Yeah.
It looked completely different and whatever. And I just got this overwhelming, like the presence of the Holy Spirit just like filled me up and overcame me. And it was like, tears came to my eyes. It was this really weird kind of experience that it's like kind of stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, oh, that's weird. But I just felt God impressing something on me. Like, it's okay. Like, you are welcome here kind of thing. Because I hadn't been in a church since I'd go on Christmas when I was home. But like, I hadn't been to a church in a long time.
Yeah.
And so it was weird. And I just kind of like chalked it up to like, okay. And so I went home and I told my husband about it. And I was like, I had this really weird thing happen. Mind you, we'd never talked about this kind of stuff ever.
Yeah.
I was like, this really weird thing happened to me, and like, I'm just gonna tell you. And I told him, and he's like, oh, okay, like that's interesting. You know, we would have said then that we were, you know, spiritual people. Alex was really into like elements of Buddhism, and we used to visit this Buddhist temple, and we lived in So it was like, it wasn't completely opposed to that part. Yeah. So, but I shared it with him, and kind of just was like thinking about it, and went along with whatever. Well, then like a few nights later, God woke me up out of my sleep, like literally, like a sit up kind of thing. Yeah, and he had put a Bible verse in my heart, and I didn't even own a Bible, so I had to look it up. I like, Googled it, and the verse was Exodus 14:14, and I got tattooed on me now over my astrological sign that I had tattooed on prior.
She's been delivered.
So I was going to cover this up, and you know what? No, I'm just going to. So I got to Exodus 14:14, which said the Lord will fight for you. You just need to be still. And for me, I was kind of like, this is clearly a sign from God. Like, I don't know. I don't remember this verse. I didn't know what it said. And so the following week, I went to our local camp. I went to Freedom Life Center County, which was where my mom goes, my grandparents go, whatever. And recommitted my life to Jesus.
That's awesome.
And
praise God.
The rest is history.
Look at that. And then Alex was not far behind.
He was pretty freaked out at first because it was a very radical change for me. Yeah. And it was seemingly overnight. I mean, so it was a lot on our marriage at first, but I just prayed about it, and you know, eventually he came to church too. He also got saved, and now we're serving the Lord together. It's great.
Look at that. That's so fun. That's so awesome. And you have 3 beautiful children.
Being raised in
God's house.
We had one at the time. Very soon after we started going to church, we were like, let's have another. So we had our son, and then we just had our daughter Ava a little over a year ago, or almost a year ago.
And they're all so cute.
They're so cute.
They're the best.
Little LaBeoufs.
Oh, the best. Yeah. You need to bring them on for an episode.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? Not. Maybe not.
You can do whatever you want.
Maybe Benji. He could sit.
Oh, yeah.
We should interview him.
We should. We should ask him. We should let him choose the answers to that political quiz.
We should.
We should. A Republican or Democrat.
He knows a couple Bible verses now. He's 5.
Look at that.
Yeah.
He's on it.
He could, show off for
He's
everyone.
on it.
He's on it.
No, but thanks for sharing. Yeah. That's an incredible testimony. Yeah. And I really think that a lot of people will be impacted by that, not just through this podcast, but you shared your faith in so many different areas, whether it's Courage Conference that we have here or just youth group on Wednesdays. Brittany said is a youth leader here and there.
Yeah.
No shade. Anyways. But no, I think that God just has such a hand on your life, and Alex as well. Yeah. And so praise God. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mine is a little bit more tame than that. But God still uses it.
Yeah.
I mean, that I was in church a good bit. Awesome Christian lady, and made sure that I was in Awana with my cousin, the vest, with the crown badges. Yeah. You would get jewels on your crown, and you would have trading cards. No. Dang. Actually, I just got rid of 7 bags of clothes from my house. We can talk about that.
Was that in there?
Episode. No.
Oh man, I really want this Awana vest.
Stuff. Maybe I can find a picture of me in Awana.
Okay.
But I did that, and then really just went through the motions kind of as a kid. I was baptized when I was 7. I think that it was a genuine commitment to the Lord, and how my mom was raising me. Shout out to Melissa. Love you. But made sure that I was in church all the time, but still here and there, I was not a perfect teenager or anything like that. But I would go back down south. I moved here when I was 11 to Pennsylvania. Moved here. And then I would go back down south to visit my family down there. And I went to a youth camp with my cousin at my home church that was down there, and really just rededicated my life when I was 12 or 13. Really gave it all to the Lord there. That's where my personal relationship started. It was no longer just going through the motions, but it was just the daily sacrifice of my life and giving it to the Lord. And so that was kind of my testimony of salvation. But I can share a little bit about how I got into ministry.
Yeah.
If we want to do that.
Yeah. I'd love to hear that.
So I never really knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. Everybody would be like, oh, what do you want to do? And when I was little, I'd be like, I want to be a toy tester, or I want to design water slides. And it's like, okay, we'll talk to you when you're a little older. And so just really never knew what I wanted to do. Knew I wanted to be around people. I'm a huge people person, huge extrovert. All of my evenings are filled with hanging out with people. And it's just the best that way. But couldn't really put a finger on what I wanted to do. And then I went to a conference in Virginia Beach with my mom and a bunch of other ladies that we still go to every year. And as soon as we walked in, this was my first like women's conference, first big Christian event besides like Winter Jam when I was in 4th grade. And went into this like huge auditorium and just like kind of looked around, and I felt the Holy Spirit just like put on my heart that like I should be in ministry. And it was hard for me to decipher, like as a 14-year-old, the voice of the Holy Spirit, like what does that mean? I thought it was just a feeling, like, I don't know. And then I remember sitting down in the chairs and listening to the sermon and being like, I could do this for the rest of my life. And not that it was just like a traveling speaker or anything like that. Like I didn't know what any of ministry entailed. Anyways, fast forward. In high school, I'm really plugged into youth group. Loved my friends at youth group. I was always there. I did some like summer internship things, which was really fun. And then I graduated high school a semester early, not because I was smart, but because I was homeschooled and I just doubled up on classes and did my summer internship with the youth ministry. And it was the best, had so much fun. And then we went to camp that year. And the same church that I went to that I felt called into ministry at, one of their pastors came and spoke at our youth camp, and he just kind of picked me out of the crowd, and he was like, hey, the Holy Spirit told me that you're supposed to be in full-time ministry. And I was like, okay, well, it's officially confirmed. Good thing I'm already signed up for ministry school after camp. And it was really just like so evident that like God had a plan the whole time. And like I said, my testimony still isn't like perfect. I was not just like the perfect church kid or anything like that. I had my struggles, but through it all, like God's grace is just so vast and really greater than we could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And so that's my testimony of being in ministry. And then one day I was asked to be the assistant youth pastor after kind of interning and being stipend for admin. I was stoked about getting $50 every other week, just being in ministry. But after that, I was at a youth staff meeting and Pastor Sam was just like, hey, Aaliyah's our new assistant youth pastor. And I was like, news to me, let's do it. And the rest is history, kind of.
Yeah.
We'll see how the rest of everything plays out.
So you've been assistant youth pastor for 5 years?
For 5 years.
Wow. So you were 21.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
Like stepped into that role as COVID was happening, kind of. Like a couple months prior to COVID.
That's crazy to think that's how old you were when COVID happened.
I know. Oh, I did not like
I feel old. Okay. Yeah. Anyways.
But that's kind of how I got here.
Awesome.
And yeah, that's that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So I one of the things I'm excited about is that we talk about this. So we have kind of different perspectives on like it'll be fun to talk about things in the podcast because of that. It's like we agree about the main things.
Yes, absolutely.
But just different perspectives and experiences. Like I'm not in ministry, so like your perspective on how this kind of affects the church is going to be really valuable, especially with teens.
And you're married and you have kids, and you'll provide all of those perspectives. And
the corporate world is it's hustle.
So true.
Anyways, do you want to play this or that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so
we'll alternate. Yeah.
Okay, we each came up with 5 questions for each other about different things. And I haven't looked at mine. You got
to choose this or that.
Yeah, you have to choose this or that.
It's pretty easy. I can do the first one.
Okay.
Are you ready for this? This is relevant to what we're doing right now.
All right.
Let's say you're on a road trip. You're with your family. Mm-hmm. You have 3 kids in the back. Your husband's driving because you're the passenger princess.
Always.
Are you putting on music or are you putting on a podcast?
I prefer podcast.
Yeah.
But the kids and my husband would probably push music.
That's fair.
You know?
That's fair.
So, but I'm a podcast person.
Yeah.
I love podcasts, although I've recently cut back.
Really?
On how many I'm listening to.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to do what you got to do.
For a few reasons. One, I want to be more creative for this podcast.
Oh, that's fair.
So in preparation for us to crush it, I want to take in less.
Thank you for sacrificing.
You know?
Because I have not done that. I really only listen to like 2 or 3 podcasts. And and I just listen all throughout the week.
No, I listen to a lot because I'm home alone all day.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like it's not having a conversation, but it's the closest thing that I have when I'm not in meetings and like just working.
And it feels like you're talking to someone.
Yeah. Like I do a lot of critical thinking. And so I like having background. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I'm very much a podcast person.
Podcast. Got it. Noted.
I also we'll talk about that later because I have one for you. Okay. I think I already know the answer to this, but for the people.
Okay.
Late night or early morning?
I don't know. I enjoy an early morning if I'm up, but I love a late night.
Okay.
Like, I love Fridays because I can stay up just like as late as I want. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of like productivity and like what I'm doing, like, I'd rather just work in the hours from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Or yeah. Like,
what
I'm
is early to you? Like, what's the earliest you wake up on a regular basis?
6.
Okay, that is pretty early.
Yeah, I mean, my alarm was set for 6:45 today, and then I just kept snoozing it. So, and that's why I didn't answer.
It's a Monday. It's raining outside.
That's why I didn't answer your text as soon as I should have.
Oh.
I opened up your message.
Yeah.
Brittany recently made me turn on my read receipts, and I hate having on my read receipts.
But I was driving, so I didn't even know if you read it.
Okay, fair.
And it was a voice memo, so.
I opened your voice memo, but I didn't listen to it until I was in the car an hour and a half later.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Because I was driving. Listen, I like read receipts because I don't get offended if people don't respond. But because we've been talking so much about the podcast, I'm like, I need to know if she actually read this or not.
And I always do read it. I'm a no notification girl.
Yeah, like, but now I know that.
Yeah.
Now I know that it's baking.
Yes.
It's baking.
Yes.
But now I can see if she read it.
For sure.
She begrudgingly turned them on for me.
Yes, you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. All right, next one. Do you prefer, this is for the girls, which I feel like will mostly reach a female audience.
Yeah, probably.
But who knows? Do you prefer gold or silver jewelry?
Gold.
Me too.
I used to be a silver girly, but
me too.
Yeah, but
I was
gold.
delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gold now. My wedding ring is rose gold.
Really?
Yeah. So
beautiful.
Yeah. But
all gold,
rose gold.
Yep.
That's my favorite now.
No.
That was like probably the last 5 years though.
Yeah,
that's
a good answer. Yeah. I switched like a year ago.
Yeah.
And I love it.
It's better.
Everything's been replaced.
Yeah. Yeah. So. And I do have like staple pieces,
Mm-hmm.
although I need a couple new ones. I sweat a lot from working out. So
I can't relate.
My jewelry that is supposed to last it doesn't because of that. So it's fine.
I think this is a myth, but I have heard that there's a spray that you can put on your jewelry that makes it last longer.
Really?
I'll have to look into it. But
I'll do a TikTok deep dive.
Thank you.
I bet there's something.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Apple Music or Spotify?
Spotify.
Okay.
I understand that Apple Music probably has better quality, like sound coming through your car. That's what I've heard over and over again. But
I didn't know that was the argument.
Yeah, I just love Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recently switched from listening to my podcast on Apple Podcasts to listening to them on Spotify. Just so
everything is on Spotify.
Just so I have one central location to do music and podcasts.
Yes, and there's books.
Yeah. Well, although, we can talk about that. I have a love-hate relationship with audiobooks.
I was gonna ask you something about that.
As a this or that?
Well, yeah, but I didn't put it down. I was gonna ask if you rather listen to books or read them.
Read. Read. I have a Kindle. I like hard copy books too, though.
I was also going to ask you that.
Yeah.
Are you a Kindle or a hardback?
I like Kindle. I like that you can highlight and pull up notes. Like I'll probably bring it on this podcast at some point.
Yeah.
Just for the different books I read. But if it's a book that I think I will recommend or give to people, I like to get a physical copy of it.
That's fair.
So that I can give it to someone.
I like Kindles for a different reason. It's because I can lay on my side when I read a book and I can fall asleep. And I'm a firm believer that reading is the best kind of sleep medication you could ever take.
Yeah, no, for real. Yeah.
It knocks me out.
I read a lot of nonfiction, but I've been trying to read more fiction.
Don't worry. I've got some fiction suggestions.
I've not done well.
It'll be great.
Yeah. But yeah, I like Kindle. I like books. I can't do audiobook. If it's a memoir,
that's
narrated
fair.
by the person.
Yeah.
I like audiobooks.
Agreed.
For that.
I don't listen to audiobooks.
Yeah. I get too distracted. So it's a no-go.
Which is like almost the same thing as podcast.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyways.
It is, but you can.
But it's also
you have to pay more attention.
Yes.
Especially if it's fiction because you have to know the characters and stuff.
It's true.
You know, and I get too lost. I get too lost.
No, that's valid. That's valid. Is it your turn or my turn?
I think it's your turn.
Okay. Would you rather a text or a call?
Call.
Yeah.
I don't mind texting. Like there are some people who I text like kind of for all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like we always kind of have an ongoing text stream. But if it's someone that I don't, I like calling.
Yeah.
You FaceTime. I like FaceTime.
I FaceTime.
Yeah.
I'm either a text or a FaceTime.
Yeah. Which I like. I like FaceTiming. So yeah, I would say call. Preferably.
Good answer. It's like Family Feud.
Yeah.
Start talking for you. Let's not bring up Family Feud right now.
Moving on.
We'll debrief after
Okay. All right. I think I know the answer to this. Stanley or Owala?
I like my Owala now.
Yeah.
Stanley's,
Were you a Stanley girly before?
yes. And here's my issue. They just don't close and they
Mhm.
spill
Mhm.
and this does not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I
shout
actually
out
don't
to
have an
Owala.
Owala yet.
I like it. You should go get one after this.
I'm team Owala.
Yeah.
If I bring home another water bottle, my husband might have a conniption, but
It's okay.
it's fine.
It's worth
I
it.
have so many water bottles.
It's
I'm
fine.
very hydrated.
Just go through your cupboard.
I could stand to get rid of a few.
Yeah.
It's
fine.
versatile. I love that you can
It
sip
is.
it or it has a straw.
And I love that I can throw it in my car. Like I physically throw this into the
Yeah.
passenger seat.
Yeah.
And it also fits better in my cup holder. So
lots of pros.
it's true.
Lots
It's
of pros.
true. All right, next one. I thought this one was fun. Would you rather, this is not a Sunday that you're serving or anything like that. Would you rather sit in the front or in the back at church?
Front.
Yeah.
I get
too.
distracted.
Yeah.
That is honestly the reason why.
Yeah.
Is because I've always been like that.
Mhm.
In high school, in college, whatever. If it's a classroom, I'm sitting in the front.
Really?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. I just like that.
Yeah.
I like being super if not
Yeah.
I just hit this mic, sorry.
Ducking
If not, I feel like I get distracted and it's harder for me to pay attention and yeah. I also like at church when I'm worshiping, I feel like I like having space.
Yes, me too. And people don't hear me sing as much in the front.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they don't want to hear me.
Agreed.
They do not want to hear me.
Nope. Not me either. I can't sing.
The people that want to hear me are listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
It's probably just my
Speaking
mom.
though, not singing.
Yes. Correct.
Okay. You are oh wait, no, sorry. I skipped one. TV show series or movie?
It depends if it's a weekday or a weekend.
Oh, okay.
If
Which
it's
one do you prefer on the weekends?
Movies.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So this is such a random answer. I don't know why I'm so particular about this. But if it's a weekday, like a show.
Yeah.
Like I can easily watch a show
Yeah.
at night compared to a movie at night. Less of a commitment. But also, I have really been loving TV shows lately.
Mhm.
So, and also movie series though. I go back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just finished watching The Hunger Games because
Oh,
I read
that's
the other Hunger Games book that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
Would recommend. It's
Yeah.
very good. But
I'm a TV show person too.
yeah,
I'm someone who always is watching a show though.
really.
Yeah.
I need to find a new one.
But I have like comfort shows. I've
Okay,
rewatched
fair.
I've rewatched the same 10 series like multiple times.
Is Gilmore Girls one?
Yeah.
I still haven't seen the whole thing. I've watched like 4 episodes of Gilmore Girls.
Okay. That's gonna be something that we do.
Yeah.
I
We
rewatch
can
it
do that in the fall.
Yeah, I was gonna say I rewatch it every fall. so-
Okay. Yeah. I can commit to that in the fall.
Okay. We'll talk about it on the podcast.
Okay. Deal. Next one. This is my last one for you. Would you rather, let's say you're in school again. Let me set up the scene. Would you rather do a group project or a solo project?
Solo project.
Really?
Yes.
Can you explain why?
I always did all the work for
Yeah.
group projects.
Yeah.
Because I was an overachiever and like
Mhm.
super, task oriented.
Yeah.
It got better when we got to grad school.
Mhm.
When I was in my PhD program, we had to do some group work, and I feel like by then people have it figured out
Yeah.
for the most part. Not
Yeah.
everyone, but in undergrad, I despise even my master's program. I hated doing group projects
Yeah.
because one person always ends up doing more work than everyone,
Mhm.
and that person was always me.
Yeah.
Because I'm also a bit of a control freak, and I didn't want my grade to be affected by people not doing solid
Yes.
work.
Yeah.
So I would say solo project, but in the same vein, I like being on a team.
Yes, I agree. I love group projects because I just like working with people.
Yeah,
And also just like having fun. And everything's more fun when people are
Yeah.
involved, you know?
I think it's different as an adult when you
Yeah.
have a little bit more like work projects, for example,
Mhm.
are less frustrating to me
Yeah.
because we're not. I mean, in a way, you could say you're graded, but
Yes.
there's also it's just different.
Mhm.
So
sure.
I enjoy group work in that sense. Okay.
The more you know, the more you know.
Last question of me for you. You are planning a Friday night. So it's Friday night. You can sleep in the next day.
Okay.
Are
Yes.
you planning out and about or cozy and comfortable?
Out and about?
Okay. What are you doing?
I don't know. Dinner, something fun.
Yeah.
I
An
don't know.
activity, like a physical activity?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? It's really wherever the wind takes me. I am a planner. Like
Yeah.
to my core, I am a planner.
Yeah.
But
You're also a free spirit.
yes, just like whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
last Friday,
Yeah.
or no, last Thursday, I texted my friends and I was like, does anyone want to go to a Phillies game tomorrow? And
Yeah.
they're like, yes. And
Yeah.
so guess where we were the next day?
Yeah.
At the Phillies game.
Yeah.
It's like, if anything,
Yeah.
I would, definitely out and about,
Yeah.
doing something.
Okay.
Something fun,
Yeah.
sporting event, just being out with my friends,
Yeah.
whatever. wherever the wind takes us.
Wherever the wind takes us.
Especially if I can sleep in on
Ooh,
Saturday.
yeah.
I haven't slept in this long and forever. I slept until 10:30 on Saturday.
Like solidly.
Yes. Well, I woke up a little bit at like 7 and I was like, no, it feels like I'm getting up for work. I'm going back to sleep. And I slept till 10:30.
Wow.
Yeah. It might have been too much.
You know, I was sick with stomach bug a couple weeks ago, and I slept for the majority of like 36 hours. Like I just slept and slept and slept.
That's impressive.
And it was so weird to be in bed actually sleeping.
Yes.
At these random like late times. When I used
Yeah.
to do that, like I used to take naps all the time. I used to
love a
do
good
that
nap.
all the time. I'm not a good nap taker anymore.
No?
No.
Sundays? My Sunday is not complete unless I have a nap.
Alex usually does a Sunday nap.
Mm.
I'm one that if I do that, I usually am not rested.
Yeah.
Or like I want to keep sleeping and
Yeah.
then I'm grumpy for the rest of the evening.
Mhm.
I would rather do some chores, like because the kids are napping.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather do some chores or something and then get to bed earlier Sunday night.
Really?
Yes.
No way. I'd
Yes.
rather nap and then.
I just
Sit
can't.
late.
I every time I wake up from a nap, I'm like, this was a mistake.
No way.
Yeah.
It's always so worth it.
Yeah.
But-
I know I know that's controversial.
It is controversial,
Right.
especially for a Sunday.
Especially double, yeah. If I'm serving a double service, if
You're
Alex
telling me
is
you're a
serving
Christian and you don't take a nap on Sunday?
I know.
Interesting. We'll have to
Heresy.
revisit that
Heresy.
in your salvation. Just kidding. But that is pretty much that.
Yep.
We kind of went over our testimony, some
Yeah.
fun stuff, what this podcast will be, what it is now. And I'm sure we'll only get better from here.
Yeah,
And
we are.
so-
We're gonna majority co-host them, but we're also planning on bringing on some guests.
Yes,
Bring some outside perspectives about different topics.
that's right.
Friends of the Truth Booth.
That's right. We have a lot of young people on staff, and I'm sure they'll be
Yeah.
on this podcast eventually. So thanks for tuning in for the first episode. Not sure how long we yacked for, but we definitely did yak. And I hope you enjoyed it. And we will catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Peace out.